In the year 2298, Commander Lucas Vance, one of the most celebrated astronauts of the United Earth Space Agency, was assigned a mission that seemed routine, exploring the newly discovered planet, Velmara. Lucas's spacecraft touched down smoothly on a rugged plateau, surrounded by glowing cerulean mountains that shimmered under the light of the planet's twin moons. As he stepped outside, he activated his communicator, but the signal was unstable. "Control, this is Commander Vance beginning planetary survey. Damn, the signal is weak." For a few minutes, the only sound was the crunch of his boots against the terrain. Then, a strange noise, somewhere between a whisper and a whistle, cut through the silence. He froze. A shadow flitted between the trees. Lucas's pulse quickened. Who's there? Silence. But he was no longer alone. Before he could react, a burst of blue light struck him. His body seized, then crumpled to the ground. When he regained consciousness, he was bound to a stone platform, encircled by figures, tall, slender, their sapphire skin glowing under the moonlight. Their golden eyes observed him with a mixture of curiosity and something far more dangerous. "Where am I?" he muttered, still groggy. A woman stepped forward, moving with effortless grace. She was breathtaking, fierce yet elegant, her toned body draped in fabric that revealed more than it concealed. Her lips curled into an enigmatic smile. "Human," she spoke in a voice like silk laced with steel. "You should not have come here." The warriors murmured amongst themselves until the leader raised a hand for silence. "I am Seraphine, commander of the Velyari Guard, and you are our prisoner." Despite the situation, Lucas found his gaze lingering on the way her lithe frame moved, how the soft light accentuated her features. He swallowed hard. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I was sent on an exploration mission," he said, keeping his voice calm. Seraphine moved closer, the scent of something floral and electric clinging to her. "Exploration?" she mused. "Humans always claim innocence." "I swear I don't mean harm," Lucas protested, pulling at his restraints. "I just need to return to my ship." The warriors exchanged knowing glances. One of them whispered something to Seraphine, who smirked. "Not so fast, Earthling. You will be taken to Queen Elira. She alone will decide your fate." With no other choice, Lucas was led through a dense jungle toward a towering palace carved into the side of a mountain. The architecture pulsed with energy, glowing veins of crystal winding through its walls. At its heart sat Queen Elira, the undisputed ruler of the Velyari. She was immense, not just in stature, but in presence. Wrapped in a golden robe that shimmered like liquid light, she was a vision of ethereal beauty. A crown of stardust adorned her brow. Her gaze locked onto him, piercing and unreadable. "Human," she said, her voice reverberating through the chamber. "At last." A shiver ran down Lucas's spine. "You speak English?" he asked, stunned. Elira's lips curved slightly. "I speak every language, Earthling, and you are the first of your kind to stand before me. A rarity indeed." Lucas inhaled deeply. The weight of her gaze was suffocating, yet strangely intoxicating. "What happens now?" he asked, masking his unease. Elira rose, descending the steps with effortless grace. When she stood before him, she traced her fingers along his jaw, her touch cool and deliberate. "I could destroy you," she mused, "erase you from existence." She paused. "But you shall be granted one wish, human." Lucas's breath caught. "A wish?" "Yes," she purred. "In honor of your bravery, what is it you desire?" Logic screamed for him to ask for freedom, to return home. But as he gazed into Elira's golden eyes, felt the way her presence pulled him in like gravity, logic faded. "I wish—" He hesitated, pulse hammering. A night with you." The chamber fell silent. The warriors stiffened, exchanging glances. Elira's expression remained unreadable. Then, for the first time, a flicker of surprise crossed her face. "Bold," she whispered. "Very bold." For a moment, Lucas thought she might strike him down, but then something unexpected happened. She laughed, a low, knowing sound. "Very well, human," she said at last. "Your wish shall be granted." The warriors hesitated but obeyed as Elira motioned for them to leave. Alone now, she regarded Lucas with an intensity that made his breath catch. "Do you realize what you've asked for?" she murmured. "I do," he replied without hesitation. She turned to a balcony overlooking the glowing jungle, her silhouette bathed in celestial light. "Intriguing," she mused. "I should kill you, yet instead I find myself curious." Lucas stepped beside her. The night breeze carried her intoxicating scent. "Maybe that curiosity is what binds us," he said softly. Without another word, she turned to him, her golden gaze smoldering. Then she kissed him. Slow, deliberate. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a collision of worlds. But destiny had its own plans. The following days passed in a haze. Lucas roamed the palace, ensnared by Elira's presence, feeling more connected to Velmara with each moment, but beneath the surface something was wrong. One night, while watching the moons, Seraphine approached. "We need to talk," she whispered. Lucas turned. "What is it?" She hesitated. "The Queen, she hasn't told you everything." "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, a regal figure stepped from the shadows. Elira. "Seraphine," she said smoothly. "I warned you not to interfere." Seraphine bowed her head. "Forgive me, Majesty." Lucas's stomach nodded. "Elira, what's going on?" The Queen approached slowly, her voice edged with something cold. "Did you really think you could come here, claim me, and leave unscathed?" His heart pounded. "But you said—" Elira smirked. "And you believed me?" The warriors emerged, spears drawn. "Elira, please." She placed a hand on his face, her touch lingering. "You were a moment of indulgence, human. Nothing more." The spears struck. Lucas felt no pain, only the ache of betrayal. As he collapsed, the last thing he saw was Elira turning away, disappearing into the shadows. And so, the first human to set foot on Velmara met his end, not by war, nor by the perils of an alien world, but by the cruel hand of the Queen, to whom he had surrendered his heart. Lucas's vision blurred, the twin moons of Velmara fading into darkness as his body collapsed onto the cold stone. The warriors stepped back, their spears dripping with his blood. The silence that followed was suffocating. Elira did not look back. Seraphine, however, lingered. Her fingers twitched as if resisting an urge to intervene. When the Queen finally disappeared into the palace shadows, she stepped forward. "He still breathes," one warrior murmured. Seraphine glanced at Lucas's limp body, his chest barely rising, his lips parted in shallow gasps. The spears had struck true, but the Queen had not commanded a final blow. "Leave him," Seraphine ordered. "His fate is sealed." The warriors hesitated before retreating into the jungle. Only when she was certain they were gone did Seraphine kneel beside him. "Foolish human," she muttered under her breath. Lucas's fingers twitched, a spark of life. Seraphine pressed 2 fingers against his throat. His pulse was weak but steady. She exhaled sharply. If the Queen had truly wanted him dead, she would have ordered a clean execution. But she hadn't, which meant there was still a chance. With a swift motion, Seraphine hoisted him onto her back, carrying his bleeding body into the dense jungle. Lucas awoke to the scent of something herbal and bitter. A dull pain throbbed through his limbs, but he was alive, barely. The ceiling above him was not the crystalline architecture of the palace, but woven branches and glowing vines. The air smelled of damp earth and burning incense. He tried to move, but groaned as pain lanced through his chest. "Don't move too quickly," a voice said. Lucas turned his head to see Seraphine crouched beside him, grinding herbs into a thick paste. Her blue skin shimmered in the dim light. "You're supposed to be dead," he croaked. "And yet, here you are," she muttered. "Elira let you live for a reason, even if she won't admit it." Lucas's mind was clouded with pain, but a single thought pushed through the haze. "Why did you save me?" Seraphine's golden eyes flicked to his, unreadable. "Because you deserve to know the truth." For days, Seraphine nursed him back to strength, using ancient Velyari medicine to heal his wounds. As his strength returned, so did his questions. "What is Elira hiding?" he demanded one night, sitting by the fire in the sanctuary's hidden cavern. Seraphine hesitated before finally speaking. "Elira is not just a queen. She is bound to Velmara itself. The energy of this planet flows through her, and through that bond, she can control everything within it." Lucas frowned. "Then why did she need to kill me?" Seraphine's gaze darkened. "Because you disrupt that balance. Humans are not meant to be here. Your presence weakens her connection to the planet. The longer you live, the more vulnerable she becomes." Lucas stared into the fire, trying to process the revelation. Elira had never seen him as an enemy. She had seen him as a threat, to herself, to her people, to everything she ruled. "But she didn't finish the job," he murmured. Seraphine's lips pressed into a thin line. "Number. And that means something. Either she wanted you to suffer, or part of her couldn't bear to let you die." Lucas's chest tightened at the thought. "So what now?" he asked. Seraphine stood gripping the hilt of her blade. "Now, we make her choose." With his wounds mostly healed, Lucas and Seraphine made their way back toward the palace under the cover of darkness. The jungle pulsed with energy around them, responding to the queen's will. They had to move quickly. As they reached the outskirts of the palace, Seraphine turned to him. "This could end in one of two ways," she said. "Either she accepts the truth, or she destroys us both." Lucas nodded grimly. "Let's find out." The grand hall was just as he remembered. Towering crystal columns, the throne at its center bathed in golden light. Elira sat there, her expression unreadable as they stepped forward. The warriors stiffened, hands gripping their weapons. "You survived," Elira said, her voice betraying no emotion. "You let me," Lucas shot back. Silence stretched between them. Then, for the first time, something flickered in Elira's golden eyes. Hesitation, conflict. Seraphine stepped forward. "He is not your enemy, Elira. You know that." The queen's fingers tightened around the armrest of her throne. "You don't understand," she murmured. "If he stays, I grow weaker. If I grow weaker, Velmara suffers." Lucas took a step closer. "Then what do you feel right now?" Elira exhaled sharply, her carefully crafted mask slipping. "I feel uncertainty," she admitted. "And that terrifies me more than anything." Lucas dared to step closer. "Then tell me to leave." Elira met his gaze. "I can't." Seraphine inhaled sharply. Lucas knew then. She had never wanted him dead. She had only been trying to protect Velmara, but in doing so, she had nearly destroyed herself. "Then choose," he whispered. Elira closed her eyes for a moment, then stood. "I already have." She turned to her warriors. "Lower your weapons." The warriors hesitated, then obeyed. Seraphine exhaled in relief. Lucas felt the weight of fate shifting around them. Elira's golden gaze locked onto his. "You may have changed everything, Lucas Vance." A slow smile tugged at Lucas's lips. Then let's find out what happens next. And so, for the first time in Velmara's history, an outsider was no longer an enemy, but something far more dangerous. A possibility to be continued.